Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Whiteside. I'm BC's Minister of Education, and I would like to acknowledge with respect and gratitude that I'm speaking to you today from the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people of the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. And I'd like to thank Kang, Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Training, and Dr. Bonnie Henry, our Provincial Health Officer, for being here as well. I want to start this morning by extending my heartfelt thanks to teachers, school leaders, support staff, administrators, custodial staff, bus drivers, the students, the parents, the education partners, our rights holders, trustees, advocates, and everyone who supports children in our education system. Your extraordinary work was key to our collective success last year in keeping schools safe and open. We are committed, as we have been from the beginning of this pandemic, to following the science and the direction of public health while working collaboratively with all of our education partners, rights holders, the BC Centre for Disease Control, Dr. Henry and her staff as we navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. I would also like to extend my deep gratitude to our Provincial K-12 Steering Committee, which has been working throughout the summer and indeed for more than a year now, to bring us to the point where we are today with the plans for the 2021-2022 school year. I want to just begin with talking a bit about our plan to keep schools open and safe for K-12 students this year. And September always brings really special feelings. We know that students and staff are looking forward to the return to school. We know as well that there's some anxiety about what that looks like this year. In June, we announced health and safety guidelines for the coming year, and that we would be holding off on determining a policy around mask wearing until we saw how the pandemic changed over the summer. Today, we're confirming that students are returning for full-time in-person learning, supported by a requirement for all K-12 staff, as well as students from grades 4 and up, to wear a mask in indoor spaces, along, of course, with the other health and safety measures that will keep students and staff safe. So this means that students can look forward to a resumption of safe, in-person, full-time learning, extracurricular activities, sports, arts, performing arts, and music. We know they're also looking forward to seeing their friends, teachers, librarians, coaches, and all of the other school staff. We are committed to safe in-class learning, not just for the educational growth of students, but also for their social and emotional well-being. We recognize that COVID is an ever-changing pandemic that will continue to challenge us this year. But we are not in the same situation this year as we were heading into last September, because we now have safe and effective vaccines that we know protect us from COVID. And in the spring, many health authorities made frontline educators and school staff a priority for vaccination. And going into this year, all British Columbians 12 years and older are eligible to receive the vaccine, and many in this age group have in fact been receiving vaccinations against COVID-19 all summer. As of this past week, 72% of 12 to 17-year-olds in British Columbia have had their first dose, and 57% are fully vaccinated. And I want to say to you now, if you are eligible for a vaccine but you have not yet received your vaccination, now is your time. We know that getting vaccinated is the single most important step we can take to keep students safe this year. We've been working collaboratively with the Steering Committee and the BC CDC and have revised guidance to update our health and safety guidelines. And I'll just provide a brief overview of these guidelines, which we've been working on with all of our partners over the summer. What we announced in June was that we would continue this school year with the foundations of our health and safety guidelines, the daily health check and attendance management, ensuring that students and staff do not come to school while they're sick, ongoing hand hygiene, ensuring that students, ensuring enhanced cleaning, and having in place a health and safety checklist for school administrators. The mask requirement that was in place last spring will continue in place to start this upcoming school year. This means all K-12 staff and all students in grade 4 to 12 will wear non-medical masks in all indoor areas of school, including classrooms and school buses. Students in kindergarten to grade 3 will continue to be encouraged to wear masks. Extracurricular activities are allowed in line with any local, regional, provincial, or national health orders in the community. And also, as announced in June, our rapid response teams will continue to work with school districts and health authorities to support local districts and schools with their safety plans. These provincial measures can also be supplemented by regional measures as needed. School medical health officers and the health authorities will continue to be able to introduce local measures in the event of COVID-19 outbreaks or a rising number of infections. And this may include orders aimed at individual schools, groups of schools, or an entire district. And also, as announced in June, the guidelines are supported by a $43.6 million pandemic-specific funding, which includes funding to address learning impacts. And I want to just pause a moment to say a word about ventilation, because we know that ventilation in schools is very important for the health of students and staff. Between last school year and this upcoming school year, $87.5 million in provincial and federal funding has been invested specifically for air quality improvements in schools. And our government has invested $77.5 million from our province's budget to support numerous air quality projects in school districts. 44 of BC's 60 school districts have upgraded their HVAC systems. And you know, we have over 1,500 public schools in this province, and 100% of those schools are working on ventilation. And our ministry continues to work with all school districts to ensure all mechanical HVAC systems are designed, operated, and maintained as per standards and specifications to ensure that they're working properly. And I want to highlight just the example, one example of the work that's been underway to support air quality improvements in schools. The Vancouver School Board reported to us that their central HVAC and schoolroom ventilation systems have all been upgraded with MERV 13 filters in every school in their district. And we are going to continue to work with districts to ensure they continue to provide clean and safe air for students and staff. I also want to remind everyone that in June we announced an additional $5 million to support pandemic-related mental health programs and services. And school districts are using that funding to maintain mental health programs that they developed last year, or to enhance supports that they have through their regular programming, mental health programming for students. And I would like to provide a special thank you to Minister Sheila Malcolmson and Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction staff for their ongoing support of this important work. If your child needs mental health supports now or leading up to the start of the school year, please visit our Erase government website. Just Google Erase BC and the website will come up, and that will provide you with immediate links to care. Just in wrapping up, I know that educators, principals, superintendents are really looking forward to welcoming students back on September 7th. And we are working hard to make sure that this is a successful return to school. I do want to reinforce that the most important thing we can do right now is to make sure everyone 12 and up who is eligible gets vaccinated. That will help keep students safe. Our education system and everyone in it has been extremely resilient and adaptable over the past 18 months. And I know everyone from educators to staff to trustees have worked so hard to put students first. I really want to thank the educators and everyone who has remained so focused on children as we start the new school year. Thank you so much. And I would now like to introduce Minister Kang, who will speak about health and safety for post-secondary institutions.
Thank you, Minister Whiteside, and good morning, everyone. It is my honor to join you from the traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I thank them for the ability to gather and work on their lands. I would also like to begin by acknowledging what a challenging time it has been for students, faculty, and staff at BC's colleges and universities. I am grateful to everyone who has done their part to keep our community safe. And I want to acknowledge how difficult the pandemic has been for students. It has affected your ability to learn, to work, to stay connected with family and friends. The pandemic has affected students, and this fall's plan to return to in-person learning is so important for everyone to come back together safely. I know we can do it. I am grateful because I know that Dr. Henry and her team of public health experts are working hard to ensure the right measures are in place to keep everyone on BC campuses safe as we return to in-person classes. In July, a team of experts released the COVID-19 return to campus plan and guidelines, recognizing that guidelines would require periodic updates to align with evolving pandemic health guidance. We are listening to students, faculty, and staff across the province. I will let Dr. Henry speak to the details, but our close working relationship with the public health has led to 2 new requirements that will change in-person learning on campus. The guidelines are being updated to reflect the new mask order and the proof of vaccination requirement, in particular for students living in student housing. For campus life, the new provincial proof of vaccination requirement announced yesterday means people must be vaccinated in order to live in student housing, to go to a pub, to go to gym including varsity students, to attend an indoor club meeting like joining a choir. And of course, that same proof of vaccination will also be required for activities that can be a big part of student life, like indoor concerts and attending sports events. Colleges and universities may choose to adopt their own vaccine policies or ask for proof of vaccination that go beyond those set out for provincial health order. Those that do so should work with public health and will be responsible for doing their own due diligence. The goal is to get more people vaccinated because we know our safety on campus increases when people are vaccinated. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, please do not delay. Book your appointment today and make a positive choice to get vaccinated, protect your community, and continue to play an active role and enjoy the activities that you would with your loved ones. It is a part of ensuring a safe return to campus, and I am confident the new vaccine requirements on campus, the mandatory masks will keep people on campus safe and give students, faculty, and staff the confidence they need for a successful return to campus. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Dr. Henry to the podium. Dr. Henry.
Thank you very much and good morning. So as mentioned, there's a lot of work that has been going on, and as we've talked about over the last few weeks. And I'd also want to start by thanking all of the school communities, our campus faculty, students, and families from K-12 to our post-secondary institutions. We know this has been a long road, and we have a ways to go yet. We were, of course, hopeful that we would make it through this summer, and with the important vaccine progress that we've made in BC, that we'd be able to release some of the restrictions that we have had in place over the last few months and years. However, we now know that there is still a need for certain measures to be taken. We faced hard choices, we've made sacrifices and adjusted a new way of life for all of us over this last 18 months. And we've been working hard to ensure that we continue to have safe reopening of schools, post-secondary institutions for all students, faculty, staff, and our families and communities, and to reduce transmission in those areas as much as possible. And today's measures reflect that. While we have made incredible progress in our shared efforts to be vaccinated and to put this pandemic behind us, in the broader community, as you know, we are seeing increased transmission and increasing levels of transmission, particularly among unvaccinated people, as we've talked about, and in part, of course, due to the increased transmissibility of the variant that we're seeing circulating right now, the Delta variant. So today I'm announcing we are reintroducing a mask requirement across British Columbia for all indoor public spaces. This measure is needed to ensure that these indoor settings are as safe as they can be for all of us as we head into the fall and we spend more time in activities, whether it's school or other activities indoors. So a provincial health officer order will require masks to be worn by all British Columbians 12 years of age and older in many indoor public settings starting tomorrow. So this will include malls, shopping centers, coffee shops, retail and grocery stores, liquor and drug stores, city halls, libraries, community and recreation centers, restaurants, pubs and bars, unless you are seated once you're at your table, on public transit, in taxi or ride-sharing vehicles, in areas of office buildings where services to the public are provided. So this is to address those situations where we are in an indoor setting with people who may not yet have been vaccinated. We also will cover common areas of sports and fitness centers as well. And, as mentioned, common areas of post-secondary institutions and nonprofit organizations and in schools for all K-12 visitors, students, and staff in grades 4 to 12. This temporary order will be reassessed as the BC vaccine card requirement is fully implemented in certain social and recreational settings, as we announced yesterday. We need to continue to do those things that keep us safe. And one of those is wearing masks in these indoor settings as rates of transmission in our communities have creeped upwards. As well, using hand hygiene regularly, staying away when we're sick ourselves, and keeping a respectful distance from people when we're in public spaces. These are the things that we need to continue to do to get us through this next phase of our pandemic. And we will be continually reassessing and adapting to what this pandemic presents us. I know we all want to put it behind us, and I can't stress enough the powerful and effective tools we have that are helping us to do that, and that is vaccines. As we've said a number of times, vaccines are the most effective way to keep transmission down, to keep COVID out of our communities, out of our schools, out of our workplaces. And as we know, as many as 75% of eligible people in BC have had their 2 doses of vaccine. And that has made a huge difference in the number of people who require hospitalization, who require additional care. But we still need to do better than that as this virus is changing and we are still at risk. That's why yesterday we took this important step to continue increasing our vaccination rates and ensure that people who are protected are able to safely enjoy some of these recreational activities. By mandating a proof of vaccination to enter some spaces, we will reduce transmission in those spaces, we'll keep our communities safe, and we'll be able to keep those important social and business and recreational activities going. The vaccine requirement applies to all students living in on-campus student housing, with this requirement in effect starting September 7, but will be phased in to ensure that students have access to vaccines. Public Health is working with post-secondary institutions to ensure that all students, staff, and faculty have timely access to immunization, and we will be working as well with all of the schools to ensure that vaccines are available in schools when needed, but to ensure that all staff and students can have easy access to the vaccines that we need. There are walk-in clinics, vax vans, booths at farmers markets, beaches and skate parks and every place else through this summer, and that will continue as we move into the fall to make sure that we can protect as many people as possible so that we can continue the good work that we're doing to keep schools and education systems open and to keep our businesses and recreational and social activities going as we make it through this next phase of our pandemic.